Live Dassini, your host Jai Dreads. We here with another banger. Today's show, we'll be talking about the top concerns of NYC and the different situations that the citizens of New York are living through and living in. Okay, like I said, it's 25 of them, but if we broke down the main 10, okay, because some of the 25, they overlap into each other. So if we broke down the main 10, it would be housing affordability, cost of living, safety, considering leaving the city. Number 4. 5, quality of city services. 6, transit, subway safety. 7, neighborhood quality of life. 8, housing stability. 9, infrastructure. And 10, schools. So those are the main, but in a whole, we have 25 to talk about. And let's just take it from the top. Let's see, what's the first one that's going to come up? Okay, so the cost of living has gotten unbearable from New Yorkers. We have some New Yorkers who are living from paycheck to paycheck. In a poll, it says 61% says it's increasingly difficult to meet basic needs. That's why we showed the bill. Like everybody needs a roof over their head. So if you can't pay rent, okay, that's like your first bill you should be paying in the cost of living. A statewide Marist poll is where I got my figures from. These are actual figures. If you're a New Yorker and the cost of living you're having, the issues I'm talking about, please come in the comments and leave a comment about it. Tell us about your experience. Tell us about your struggles also. So let's go on to the next one. New York City infrastructure is crumbling. Wow. So, as you can see, when you walk around the city, okay, the whole infrastructure seems to be collapsing. Like, I live on Richmond Terrace. I've been living there quite a few years now. And in the 15 years that I lived there, I've seen them fixing that street at least 15 times so far. I feel they need to come up with better solutions, and some of that money could go towards other areas, So just watch your step out there walking on this infrastructure now that you know it's collapsing. Let's go to the next one. Okay, taxes out of control, okay? I think as a New Yorker, and really in the city of New Yorker, a New Yorker, I think we pay more taxes for stuff than the average state pays. I think we have higher taxes. I think this city, like, eventually morphed into a place where only rich people could be comfortable here. A lot of people can't afford the taxes. I mean, even when you order food, tax is probably like $10 or even 10% of the food you order. And when it comes time to claim, mysteriously, you don't get all of that money back. Not depending on what bracket you're in. You know, some people, they might not have these issues because they're in a higher tax bracket, which really translates to they pay less taxes than you. What's the next one? Oh, taxes out of control again. So I guess we're going to continue with that. Let me see if I have any statistics for that. I don't. But I do have some additional key figures that I can throw in with that. 34% of New Yorkers rate the city overall quality of life as excellent or good. 50% rate their neighborhood as excellent or a good place to live. For those walking alone at night in the neighborhoods, 59% feel safe. Housing costs are the biggest financial burden for 42% of the surveyed New Yorkers. And that last one seems to be the most accurate, you know? So let's see what the next is bringing us here. See, I told you some of these things overlap into each other. So once again, rent. Okay, city is on fire. That's how hot and how expensive the rent is here. You know, we can give examples of like rent cost. You know, I think I have a slide coming up with a specific number on it about the rent cost, but 73 or minus 73% believe housing affordability is a major problem. Okay. I don't know where the minus comes in at because it is a major problem, you know? It is. Okay. You have some people, they have to have 2 and 3 families bundled up in one place just to be able to afford the rent in the place that they're living in. So it should be a plus 73%, and it shouldn't say a major problem. It's a serious problem, especially in New York City. Okay, we live in a place where, you know, I'm not trying to make nobody feel bad or sad or whatever. Migrants came here and literally got placed in luxury hotels where you had people sleeping in the park, sleeping in the train, sleeping on the sidewalk, sleeping everywhere, anywhere they can find a spot. And this is what they're visualizing as, you know, New Yorkers. They're taking care of strangers here, okay? But more on that later. Let's go to the next slide. Oh, there we go. So, okay, it says rent is $3,800, okay? I think the guy's on fire with the city now. Rent is $3,800, but guess what? That rent that's $3,800, I believe that's a quote for a 1-bedroom. Can you imagine paying $3,800 for a 1-bedroom? That's a house payment. That's maybe a car payment. That's, you know, the finer things in life, the luxuries that you're supposed to be able to enjoy. Instead, you're struggling to pay this $3,800 each month, which makes no sense, you know. 61% says it's increasingly difficult to even meet their basic needs when you have a rent over your head for $3,800. I mean, some people can afford it, but the majority can't. So we have to fix that. We have a new mayor. Hopefully this new mayor coming in, he will do something different and, you know, take care of the people, you know, the real New Yorkers who keep the city going, who's been here, who didn't migrate, didn't run away, you know, even the transplants. So what do we got next here? Okay, our parks need help. Sorry for the cutoff, but it's basically saying our parks need help, okay? Which is true, but also people have to go out and utilize the parks more and spend more time in the park and maybe do community service, you know? I'm not saying go out your neighborhood and just start cleaning up, but where you live at, take care of it. Don't litter, and make sure you just keep it decent and presentable and not an eyesore when you come out there. Not something that's gonna increase pests and rodents and that type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? And not only just rodents, I see possums in the garbage when it's left out there. I see even the wild turkeys come out here and go crazy in the garbage when it's left out there. So, take care of our parks, okay? Be kind to the animals also, okay? What we got next? Oh, Lord. So this guy never could put down the paper. Subway crime is rising. Believe it or not, we live in the era, I believe this year, if I'm not mistaken, somebody got lit on fire this year in the train, and there's still no fire extinguishers down there. I also believe somebody got raped on the one train, too. And I shouldn't say the word, I should have just spelled it out or said grape on the one train, too, in the public during hours that people was probably on the train and witnessing this stuff. So it has become very dangerous. You don't see enough officers, and then they pick and choose which neighborhoods they want to protect. Okay, you have to protect everywhere. Okay, enough of this picking and choosing, and one section they can walk around worry free, and then other sections people are scared to come out their house, scared to leave their house, scared to cross the street from the neighborhood, okay, because of the consequences or just being afraid, Do we have any statistics? Okay. 54% say safety is one of the top 3 issues requiring safety. Additionally, 42% rate their neighborhood safety as excellent or good. Like I said, I don't know who that 42% is in New York, but if you find them, please send them to the show. I need to talk to them. What's the next slide we got here? Infrastructure is crumbling. Oh, this infrastructure, this is crumbling again. So I left out the pipes. I left out here, it's more than a crumbling issue. Like, if you go to 90% of the bus stops, there's no shelter there. You know what I'm saying? And you see how the weather is. This weather's been unpredictable. So you're standing there waiting for a bus, it's snowing, it's raining. You have nothing to stand under, nothing to, shield yourself from it. So in addition to the infrastructure crumbling, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. I understand a lot of people drive out here, so they don't understand the issue I just brought up. But for the people who don't drive, make your voice be heard. If you're standing on a wooded area, sidewalk, waiting for the bus, or you're standing on a bus stop and there's no shelter, but then you notice when you go to other neighborhoods, they have shelters on a bus stop everywhere. Today I noticed not only it wasn't a shelter on a bus stop, but they put one of the leaning things on a bus stop now. Like, that's very disrespectful. Okay, so we have to address that also. People speak up when you see these things going on. Nip them in the bud before they get any further. Okay, everybody might not be as strong as you, and somebody might get hurt or killed, or it can turn to one of those situations. So just be mindful of what you give a pass to and what you don't give a pass to. Ash, next slide, please. Health care is broken. I don't know why this guy is always on a 3-month wait. Okay, I'm looking at his paperwork. He's always on a 3-month wait. So basically, I guess he can't see the doctor until every 3 months. you should be able to see the doctor anytime you wanted to see the doctor, okay? I remember when I was growing up, the hospitals was able to turn you around. If you didn't have insurance, they wouldn't see you, okay? So a lot of people lost their lives. A lot of people just risked their health, okay? Health declined because they could not get the proper care with no insurance. Luckily, the laws changed now, but personally, it seems like you pay all of this money, and we have doctors that question you, take everything you tell them, and they put it into the AI, and then the AI tells them what's wrong with you. So, and 90% of the time, okay, it's not true. Okay, so I'm not saying avoid the doctor. What I'm saying is learn your body yourself. Okay, learn to take care of yourself better, and you won't have to worry too much about the rise. And if you did need to go to the doctor, you might be able to afford it more, you know. But it is going up. Everybody's having that same issue in New York. One good thing I will say too is that I've noticed since pandemic time, there's been a lot of mobile services that come to different neighborhoods and service lower income people or people who can't afford to make it to the doctors. So that's another option if you really can't afford or your doctor's pushing you off for 3 months, like the guy in the thumbnail, you know. He's been on a 3-month waiting list for just about every topic I talked about right now. So what's the next one, Ash? Are schools failing kids? Okay, that is a question that individually each parent will have to answer because people have the right to their own opinion, okay? Me, I was an honest student. I started school at 9 months, so I value the education. I value the knowledge that you learn. Okay, you learn something new every day. Other people, okay, they don't really care about it, and I don't think the teachers are as dedicated as they were maybe even like 10, 20 years ago, you know. To them, it's just a job now, and they're not doing a job, but they're always looking for a raise. So that's where the conflict comes in with me, you know. Same way you take the phones from the kids in school, take the phones from the teachers also. Make the teachers put their phones down, because if you're a student and you're sitting in the classroom and you look up to the teacher at the desk and the teacher's on the phone all day, okay, it's gonna like have a domino effect on you. If they're gonna be on their phone all day, you're gonna wanna be on your phone all day. So parents, go out for open school night, talk to the kids about their school day every day. You know, have these open conversations. Every topic I'm talking about today is actually an open conversation that you can have family-wise, you know. Some of these things we need to talk about as a family and hear everybody's side to certain situations, okay? But the schools, we have to do better. We have to, okay? And we have to encourage more kids to go to college and further their education without having that stigma over them. You know, this is one of the only countries where you go to school for 4 years, 8 years, 12 years, or whatever your degree is, or whatever subject you're going for, and you come out in debt, okay? And then it takes you another 20, 30 plus years to pay that debt off just to get a piece of paper, okay? Next slide, please. Job instability. Okay. So, have you been laid off recently? You know, I know the Amazon workers, about 30,000 of them, I got laid off recently, and not the 30,000 that you would think. It was more of the tech people and the computer folks, the people who runs all the programs and apps and everything. But there has been an uprising where, you know, if you think about it, it makes sense. You know, I had a conversation earlier with somebody where you should be working for yourself. You should be in business for yourself. You should be putting that time in with yourself, okay? Having a job is good, but it's not secure like back in the days where maybe you can get in a job, you can be there for years, you even have a chance to move up. But we live in times where they're building androids and robots every single day to replace us, okay? Why does it make sense to pay you on a yearly salary when they can buy these things one time and work them forever? You know what I'm saying? So just think about that logic, and then you'll understand why there's not really no stability in the jobs anymore, you know? And think about becoming an entrepreneur, okay? Put that work into yourself and grow your own company. What we got next here? Food insecurity in NYC, okay? And it is eye-opening because a lot of people don't have food, okay? We had a situation where recently they cut off the food stamps, and that caused a rush in the people who went to the food pantry and those different type of outlets for help, you know what I'm saying? But even the price of food has dramatically went up. Wow. I would say the last 5 years, okay, what you used to can get for $100 probably would cost you $300-400 now, okay? Tariffs don't help neither, you know. Just being honest and just being biased about the situation. If they pay more to send the stuff here, then of course they're gonna charge you more. So we should be looking into insourcing more and not outsourcing everything. You know, I think that's like the major solution. And also stop trying to substitute everything, okay? People want to eat meat, give them real meat. People want to eat vegetables, give them real vegetables. But stop genetically modifying all the food because it's not good. And that's causing a lot of health issues and health problems, okay? And also read the ingredients on what you put in your body. And don't just go by something you see on a commercial or, you know, everybody else is buying it. Buy healthy, for one, and buy thrifty, for two, you know. $10 for a bag of chips, it makes no sense, okay? Even riding across the ferry, the prices that they charge on the ferry, it makes no sense, okay? You can buy that stuff in the store for way cheaper. And that's how you gotta start thinking. Every dollar counts, you know? You ain't got money to throw away no more, especially in these days and times. And you can also be thrifty, which, you know, we do live in New York City, so if you did grow your own vegetables and your own fruits, it just wouldn't be in the soil here. You know, I recommend maybe making like a planter box and putting the soil inside there and growing inside that soil. All of our soil here is contaminated, and contaminated soil, anything that grows in it has that contamination in it, okay? So just be wary of that, you know? And don't waste food also, you know? People have a hard time of just eating what's on their plate. Okay? Some people want what's on other people's plate and so forth. You know what I'm saying? Just be content, okay? And don't overeat, don't overindulge, okay? exercise helps take your mind off of that type of stuff. I understand there's a lot of stress. I'm talking about a lot of stressful topics, but I'm also trying to bring solutions to some of these stressful topics, to all of them. Okay, so let's see what the next one is. Gentrification is changing everything. Okay, so out here, I'm talking to the people here, and I'm talking a lot out here. So out here, um, gentrification, we really didn't see too much of that going on, because it's like everybody's in one big melting pot here. There are areas, maybe a block or two, where you might find specific nationalities or specific religions or whatever, but basically everything is piled up on top of each other here. Like when I lived in Brooklyn, I grew up in Bushwick, okay? It was already overcrowded when I was growing up there. We had the Muslims on Bushwick Avenue selling their bean pies, and, that was a sight to see because they had their own neighborhood. And now, Manhattan has Chinatown. There's Little Italy. There's, I can't think of the Dominican neighborhood, but, it's small, okay? But as the 2000s hit, my neighborhood got gentrified so much. They had to build new schools. They had to build new housing. They had to build, a lot of new shelters, okay? And like I said, it was already overcrowded. And the stores and stuff couldn't service the people that was there previously. So imagine all of these new people moving in and all of these new situations moving in there too. Sometimes that's why people like to keep their same neighbors and to keep their neighborhood like really contained, because you never know who's moving in your neighborhood. Everybody is not a saint. You know what I'm saying? And nobody deserves to be exposed to that when they don't have to. And gentrification is a big problem, not in the way you would see in other boroughs, but you also see it here. Certain groups and religions and people who, if you go, like, maybe we talked about the pantry before. You go to the pantry, or let's just say, where they're giving out everything free because you see a certain type of people that's here, and they're not native Staten Islanders. Okay, I'm not even a native Staten Islander, but I think I fit in a little bit more than they do. They stand out. They're from other countries. Where they're from. And I'm not talking about the Africans in Park Hill. I'm 100% African, so we're not talking about them. Okay, we're talking about open your eyes and look at the other, okay, pop-ups that just popped up here and pop up everywhere you go. Okay, some places they taking all the services, so just be wary of that. Okay, let's go to the next one because that one's kind of emotional for me right there. Quality of life declining. Well, this one, we talked about this one already, but it has declined. I talked a little bit about traveling and not having the proper shelter, but like the buses and the trains, okay, not on schedule. Or have you ever been standing on a stop where the bus just decides it's not going to stop for you, or you get in a cab and they overcharge you, or you're seeing in the thumbnail, you come outside your neighborhood and the garbage is everywhere, or inside the building that you live in, okay, the maintenance person is not cleaning it. They're not keeping up with repairs that need to be done. But at the same time, all of this is going on, your landlord is still asking for rent. You still have to pay to get on the bus. You still have to pay for these services. And honestly, it's not worth, okay? You're paying for trash, basically. So it also helps to live in a neighborhood and give community service there. You know, I don't want to just talk down or talk bad about some of these things, because we have to learn how to live together and work together, okay? And on the flip side of that, okay, if your neighbor is having problem and your neighbor going to court, then I think you need to be supporting your neighbor and not supporting the landlord, because those same issues that they're going through, that could be you. And that's what you have to think about. Don't always turn your nose up and think, oh, it's not me, it's not me. All of these situations, okay, don't ever think, oh, it's not me, it's not me. It can be you overnight, okay? So quality of life is down, quality is bad, but we also have to help improve it also. We also have to come up with other solutions. I feel a lot of areas get neglected, you know. I live in an area that's basically neglected. Talk about it all the time, but talk about it for a reason all the time, because I'm trying to get them to change. I'm trying to get the people who live in that neighborhood to speak up and help get this change going. You know, imagine living somewhere where there's only 2 bodegas there, nothing else, okay? And then think about every service that you need. You have to pay out your pocket to get to these places, okay? But they're not giving you any extra income. And if you do work, or you do, you know, have any kind of hustle or whatever going on, you have to make more money, okay, to live somewhere that, okay, is basically the bottom of the barrel, okay? And that's unfair to people. Everybody should be living in the same neighborhood, the same type of neighborhood, the same type of communities. It should be no desolate areas here and flourishing areas there. You know, this is a place where we have car dealerships only on one side of the island and not everywhere. This is a place where we have family restaurants and diners only on one side of the place and not surrounding the island, or hotels only in one area and not all around the island. So that could be a problem, okay? What's the next one, Ash? Because I want to make sure I get through all of them. Why city services feels broken, okay? I briefly touched on this a little bit earlier, but it is something going on. We had a government shutdown. We had a few weeks where people weren't able to afford to feed their families, and there wasn't no 311. It wasn't no ask for a supervisor. It wasn't nothing. You know, personally, I think it was just somebody being spiteful, you know, and after surviving through a situation like that, and now they're saying that these same people might have to reapply, okay, and start the process all over if they want these services. So it has been a decline. Watch who you're putting in office, okay, and come out and use that privilege that you have as a voter more, okay? Don't wait till the last minute and then everybody's running around like a chicken with their head cut off. A lot of the stuff that they do to us, they tell us beforehand, even with Hollywood. They show us everything in the movie. They show us everything in the TV. They show us everything in commercial, okay? It's for us to take heed of these situations, okay? And utilize the services that are around you, okay? Not just last minute, okay? Now you want to run to them and they don't have nothing for you, okay? That happens a lot of times. What's our next one here? New York mental health crisis, okay? And look, it's driving this guy so crazy, okay? He still got that paper with the rent in his hand. So it done drove him crazy because that $300 one bedroom was enough to drive him crazy. Blame the previous, before the last mayor. A lot of the mental health services and money that was going towards the mental health services just disappeared. A lot of people was lacking in medication, lacking the counseling and that type of stuff. So, you know, we're witnessing like the aftermath of all of that there. If you see people talking to themselves, it's becoming a normal thing. If you see people arguing with themselves, it's becoming a normal thing, you know. And like I said, it's real depressing when you're going through a lot of these situations, like, and it can drive you crazy. So let's do more healthy exercise, eating healthy, okay? You know, doing the things that you like. You know, I always get like this where I can't think after a while, but do more productive stuff and positive things and think more positive. You know what I'm saying? I think everybody's a little bit crazy. After the pandemic time, we've seen more crazy people than we ever seen before. So don't take it personal, excuse me. But it has declined, okay? I also think families talking to each other and even just like sitting down and having a meal together and that type of stuff and family time, period, helps, okay? Everybody needs somebody to talk to. Everybody needs, you know, somebody that they can share recreational sports or whatever, you know, go out, okay? Enjoy the finer things in life too. And stop taking everything serious, okay? What you can't fix today, tomorrow's another day, okay? Stress causes a lot of mental situations too, and believe it or not, a lot of it can be inherited. So if you have a family history of something like that, then just be mindful of it and do things a different way also, okay? What do we got next here? Okay. Chaos in MTA, okay? I gave some examples of chaos in MTA earlier, physical examples, but let's talk about the fare rising. Let's talk about the MetroCard retiring, okay? How many people know how to use that Omni card, okay? I even have a hard time using that Omni card, and after December 31st, that's gonna be your top choice. I don't even think they're taking change anymore inside the buses, and you know, they got rid of the token clerk people, so it's bad. When you go underground and you go to these places, just be mindful of your surroundings and the people next to you. You know, we can't look at our phones all day and look at our tablets all day, okay? Because we put ourselves in danger and we put a target on us, you know. Even situations like here, you know, I really think they need to change the logistics of when you ride the train from the other side of the island where you can get on all of these stops for free, okay, as opposed to when you get off of the train here at the ferry, you have to pay to come out, okay? I think that's the most backwards thing I've seen the MTA do, So we have to come up with a solution. People done rode the train, let them just get off. They should not have to pay to come off of there, okay, to go about their business. So it's practically holding them hostage unless you pay to come out of there, okay? And I've seen plenty of times that same precinct across the street will send 4 and 5 officers there to post up there, know what's going on with that hustle, but there's some kind of hustle going on there for them cops to be there. So just be mindful of that. And the residents here, let's make a proposal, sign a bill, something. Let's get this thing changed. Let's do things a little bit different here and treat everybody equal and even. Like I said, other side of the island, you don't pay no fare on none of the stops you get on. But once you get to Stapleton and the next stop and the last stop, okay, that you even have to pay to get off of the train, okay, it makes no sense. So imagine you paid to get on at Stapleton on one of those stops, and now to get off, okay, you got to pay again. What's the next clip here, thumbnail? New York City still safe, okay? For some reason, some people seem to believe that New York City is still safe. So with this one, I'm gonna lean more towards to each his own. And that don't even sound right, okay? Do you believe New York City is safe, okay? Do you believe it's safer compared to 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago? Okay, I agree, maybe like the 80s, which is probably like 40 plus years ago. It might be a little bit safer from the 70s and 80s, but it's crazy. It's crazy, okay? And we're talking about the city, not just the subway here. We're talking about walking outside and, going to parks and going to different venues and just traveling around the city. I mean, an unsafe example could be just like going to Times Square and then all of these characters is harassing you for pictures, and then if you take the picture with them, it's like a catch-22. Now they want to charge you for taking a picture with them, but they harass you to take the picture, and it seems like that's allowed there instead of shutting it down early. Excuse me. So, safety-wise, look out for your fellow New Yorkers. Like they say on the bus and the train and everywhere else, if you see something, say something. Don't just sit there and pull out your phone. Okay, we living in an era where people think that helps. I don't know how that helps, pulling out your phone and just recording everything. Okay, speak up. Okay, it might save a life. A lot of these situations could go a whole different way if we don't run to this option first. Okay, I don't know where that started at. I actually used to see like the tourists do that in Manhattan when they came here, just snap pictures of everything. And it's like now, since we have these mobile phones, okay, we became tourists, okay, in crazy situations like crime where you just want to take your phone out and record it. How can you record somebody getting robbed or mugged in front of you, okay? Like the average person would be thinking, if they're that bold to do that, then maybe I'm next. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I'm just, hitting a touchy subject there. But I believe the average person, okay, will have the logic to say if they're that bold to do that, then, okay, target could be on that person too. Okay, what we got next here as we wind down? New York City too expensive. We live in an expensive city, okay? What can you even say? It's way past expensive, okay? We live in a city, and I don't think the other states are like this. I think this is primarily New York City, where people live in a shelter, go to work every day, and pay the shelter rent. Okay, so if that don't give you like a little example of how expensive the city is, then um, rewind what I just said and listen to it again. So we have people who live in a shelter, okay, and they work to pay the shelter rent. And some of these situations, people be in the shelter for years in that type of situation where if they can afford to pay the shelter rent, then get them their own place, okay? Let's talk about the food. You go to the supermarket, and you don't get your money's worth like you used to get maybe 5 years ago, even 10 years ago. Even there used to be a thing where people would go down south because the food was cheaper down there, so they would buy like maybe an Amtrak ticket or a bus ticket every month to ride down there, do their shopping, and bring the food back up here. You know, it's everywhere. Everywhere is expensive. Everywhere. Okay, so it's not just New York City. Okay. People have to realize we living in a time where there is no middle class anymore. Okay, it's either you're rich or you're poor. Okay, but it's nothing in the middle, and people have to come to the realization of that. Okay, and stop being wasteful of certain things. Like a big pet peeve, okay, I have, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people share, is that people are so conditioned to just pay for fast food and to order out every day, okay, when it's way cheaper to just go and purchase the stuff and cook it yourself, and then you may have leftovers, and you know what I'm saying? That's how you save a couple of dollars. That's how you beat the city's, high cost. So instead of just blaming or putting the blame on everything, you have to come up with solutions and what works for you, okay? And if it works for you, then put your neighbor on, put the next person on, okay? Don't keep it to yourself. What we got next? Oh, okay, so we have a synopsis of all of them, okay? All 25, which as we look, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it was missing one. So that's 24 of them, I believe. But that's a synopsis of it. What I probably do is really go home, really separate each one, and do maybe a little short clip or something to go with it, and specifically include all the stats and, the information that I might have bypassed here. I did have my iPad with me. I didn't feel like looking and staying distracted. I wanted to concentrate on bringing this show to you. We have a lot of new shows coming up. We have a lot of musical guests that we're bringing in. I think we got maybe 2 more shows for the end of the year, 2 or 3 more shows. I'm trying to pull 3 out, but 2 or 3 more shows. So I know we have a musician group lined up that we're bringing back, okay? And I think you're gonna be real happy when they do come and perform their new songs. And I know we have a chef that's coming in. She actually was supposed to be here today. So being that we got a little bit of time for her to come, maybe you want to hit me up on my social media. I believe that is my Instagram, the IG information there, and also the YouTube where this show will be posted, and you can go in the comments. So either hit me in a message, hit me in a comment. We still got a little bit of time. If you think there's something specific that you want her to make on the menu, or you know, even if you just let me know what's your favorite meal, or, you know, what's the best thing that you can cook. Okay, it's all about the interaction. The more that we interact, the more that it helps the show grow, the more that it helps get the word out there. You know, I've been doing this for a long time. I would love to continue doing this. I have no plans of stopping this now. But let's just get engaged more, and the best is yet to come. I don't know, for 2026, if y'all gonna be ready, what we got for y'all. But we got some stuff coming up. I got the new show that's playing now. I don't know, have y'all seen that yet, about the cannabis, the terpenes, trailblazers and terpenes. So please look out for that. Did the first 3 parts, so part 1 should be circulating now. If you in the know about the studio channels and the studio apps, then you should be able to find it one of these places, especially on video on demand. Now, I skipped over who would be my end of the 2025 guest. Maybe I'll leave that as a surprise, because honestly, I'm kind of like surprised, you know, surprise is not the word, but we'll just leave it as a surprise, something to look forward to. Maybe I have a house full of guests here. You know how we do, rotate them, but the objective and the goal is to bring talent, to bring inspirational stories, okay? And on that note, we also have a podcast coming out real soon, very soon, okay, within the next couple of weeks, and I want y'all to check that out, and maybe even send me some topics. I decided to do like major topics, like outreach shows, to try to change, you know, some of these narratives that's been going on for years and years and years. You know, I believe my first podcast will deal with the homelessness impact, okay? One of our top 25 concerns in New York that probably came up on the list 25 times. But I think that's one of the first topics I'll talk about. And the second one is going to be about the drugs, okay? And when I say drugs, I mean like the opioids, because Staten Island had as a borough. And if you know what a borough is compared to a city and compared to a state, okay, so Staten Island outranked all the rest of the states in the United States. This one borough with the most opioid cases and individuals that was on drugs, okay, and overdosing and those type of problems. So I'm gonna bring in some experts. I'm gonna bring in some people on the front line, okay, and we're gonna get to the bottom of that, and maybe we can put our heads together and come up with resolutions to make it better. I know it's big to have on your shoulders. It's a big thing to have on your shoulders. Now, the third podcast, I haven't really decided yet, because there's so many other topics, and I'm trying to get the most prevalent topics, because this podcast is going to be like an outreach podcast. You know what I'm saying? So in addition to talking about these topics, we'll also be providing resolutions, solutions, and numbers, and, you know, helping people who might be in these situations come up out of these situations. I actually did have kind of idea of what I wanted the third show to be about. It's just actually blowing my mind now. I also have to shout out my new intern, Peter, which is my old intern, Peter. So he finally gonna start doing some work now. He's actually in the studio now doing his research, checking out the atmosphere, the feeling, you know what I'm saying, the show. So I'm hoping he's enjoying what's going on, but we got a lot of work to do. So just look forward to that. Now, did I leave out anything? The books are booking, getting a lot of positive feedback from the books, getting a lot of engagements. I'm doing a lot of articles talking about the books, and I truly believe we are hitting our numbers with the books also, you know. So with that said, we can look forward to maybe another 5 or 10 book for that series. But I actually started doing a book series about this show specifically, you know what I'm saying? And I'll present that as like a collector's, or, you know, something for my day ones, okay? Something for them to have. Maybe I'll have a book signing, or, you know, something big with that book release, because this show has been around since 2012, okay? And before 2012, this show was around, but it was just not in the studio. And before this show was around, just not in the studio, I did one of the first internet radio shows also in Hempstead, Long Island. So, okay, we got a very rich history to go behind it. I thank you for sticking around with me through this show. And if you made it to this part, then you're a real trooper. And, okay, I thank you very much for that. Man, what did I want to say? Okay, as always, okay, like, subscribe, share, and put your comments there, okay? I like to read comments, whether they're good, whether they're bad, okay? I'm still a believer people have free speech, so, okay, let your voice be heard, like we used to say on my radio show, okay? And if you're interested in coming to this show or being a guest on this show, you can reach out to the studio, call the studio. I've received calls here, people wanting to be interviewed, or you can also hit my email, livethatcine@gmail.com, or hit the YouTube, or hit the Instagram. Everything's right there for you. As we wrap this up, I want to shout out my director, as always, okay, Ash Shahi, excuse me. Okay, always doing a good job. Check out his show, One Eye Television, okay? Pretty sure you'll find very interesting topics and great artwork there too. I also want to shout out the Dallin Show, and tell, okay, my brother, don't even worry about it, okay? It's gonna be 10 times better when we do the next episode, okay? So until next time, my name is Ja Dredge, you're watching Live That Cine, and we're out of here.
Fire, 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 kill it. Cross the music. Yes, sir. Yes, yes. SINY. Yeah, man. Yes, sir. Yeah,